Thank you so much. Hi, gentlemen. Congratulations on Julia.
Thank you so much.
Nice to be here.
Daniel, I have a little trivia for you. I am a British royal family junkie. Did you know that Princess Diana is like the 21st cousin of Julia Child?
I did not know that. I mean,
Oh,
no idea. I don't
I
really.
love.
How did you find that out?
Well, I love Diana, so I just Googled Diana and Julia Child to see what if they had any connections whatsoever. And famouskin.com says they're like 21st cousins. And I was like, well, they must be an authority on it. So
You can see the resemblance. It's
oh,
not
absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely in the height. Okay. Well, I just thought this show was so precious. And Chris, I wondered what your first instinct was when you were reading the outline. Was it like this makes sense? Or was it like, what a crazy concept?
No. Daniel and I both came to this in different ways, and in different ways from a food point of view. I mean, he came from a family that cooked. His mother was a cookbook author. My parents didn't cook at all, but we loved Julia Child. And so I was a child in the '60s, and she was a part of my life. And I remember those days of gathering as a family to watch her. So for me, it was a little bit of nostalgia. Obviously, Julia's lasted all that time, but whatever it was that drew my parents, who had no interest in cooking French food, to this woman, drew me to her a second time. And I was just happy to get a chance to tell a version of her story that was intimate in detail. To be able to spend 8 hours on 1 year of her life was just a great opportunity.
Well, and what I love about that is I can't wait for season 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 because it worked so well together as one season. It was, I just can't wait to see everything else unfold. Daniel, do you remember your first Julia Child? When did you discover her? Do you have that moment where you remember watching it with your family?
I didn't watch it with my family. My family weren't a big TV family, but my mother had all the books, and my mother herself became a cookbook writer. And actually, like my sister's favorite dessert was this Julia Child dessert that took like 3 days to make, where you had to make this hazelnut meringue dacquoise and this apricot jam and this Grand Marnier buttercream. And I think it's called the Los Gatos cake. And that's my first memory of Julia Child, my mother making this really ornate, complicated Julia Child dessert, and all of us thinking it was the most delicious thing we'd ever eaten. And my mother's sort of sense of accomplishment of actually pulling it off. So I learned about her really from the books first, and then from Saturday Night Live. And then eventually I found her on TV with the French chef.
That's so funny. If I asked my mom to make a dessert that took 3 days, she would like change the locks. That's um what I love about this show too is Sarah. I mean, I'd love to hear from both of you. I get goosebumps just thinking about what a great job she did. What was your first reaction when you saw her as Julia?
Well, the thing is, she was the one and only person with whom we would do the show. At that point, when we got to this point with HBO Max, we all agreed either we get Sarah or there's no point, because she's one of the greatest actresses in the world, and she has a way of embodying characters and letting you know how she's feeling with her eyes and not having to and expressing contradiction. She's this amazing dramatic actress. Having said all of that, neither Daniel or I said a single word to her about how she was going to perform this part. But we had the script, we had conversation about the script, and it was just like she had to take a leap of faith with us about what the series was going to be. We said, this is yours, make something of it. And what she came back with, of course, was something wholly her own, not an imitation, but an embodiment of it. And so, I mean, I'll let Daniel finish the answer, but the truth is, we had the same experience the audience will have of seeing her transform into Julia the first time.
The first scene we ever shot was actually, it's in the pilot, when she's making Paul the omelet for breakfast, and David was sitting at the table, and Sarah actually made the omelet, and she cracked the eggs with one hand, and it was transformative. And they did the scene, and they stared at each other from across the table, and Charles said cut, and David was sort of breathless, like he was like, oh my God, she's here. Julia is here. It was that kind of exciting that we all sort of felt Sarah's greatness and Julia's greatness. And we all knew like, oh, we're going to be, I mean, then even like a few days later, the network was looking at the dailies and they were like, oh my God, when can you guys open a mini room? Like everyone just was so, and we all knew that it was incredibly special what Sarah was doing immediately.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on Julia. I love the show and I cannot wait to see season 1 through 475. Congratulations on Julia.
Thank you.
Russ is kind of a jerk, but I'll forgive you. That's where I'm at right now. Okay. That's where I'm at right now, but I'm loving it. I think it's so much fun. Fiona, you play Judith, and Judith could have her own show. Can you give me a little bit about the background of this character in real life? This is an incredible character.
She's an amazing woman, isn't she? I didn't know anything about her until I read this script. She brought Anne Frank to America, which meant that the whole world suddenly found out about this incredible story about this incredible girl, hugely important to all of our lives. She was hired to translate French literature initially by Knopf, but then she edited all of John Updike's books and Tyler's. I mean, the list is endless. She then went on to write her own books, some by herself, some with her husband, and hugely supportive of other people. You know, not just her talents as an editor, but when she saw someone that she believed in, she wanted to do something to help them. And then she felt that very strongly about Julia Child, and who couldn't? This extraordinary woman came into her life. Her cookbook landed on Judith's desk, and Judith wrote in her memoir, she spent a month cooking lots of recipes because she'd been desperate to find some good French food in America after coming back from Paris, and then convinced, she actually had to ask a more senior agent to convince Alfred and Blanche Knopf to publish the book, but she succeeded. And then Judith and Julia were, kind of stuck together, became friends, worked together, phoned each other, helped each other. Judith went to Boston to help her out. They collaborated all the time on the cookbooks. She's an extraordinary woman. I mean, I could go on, but I don't want to take too much of your time. But yeah, it's been a real joy to play her.
No, it's fun to watch you too. Also, Brittany, Alice is another woman supporting woman. I think one of my favorite storylines is just watching the behind the scenes of how the show became so much bigger, you sneaking, making phone calls. How much of Alice's story is real?
That's such a great question. So Alice is an amalgamation of a few characters. So she's partially based off of Ruth Lockwood, who would have been a producer of the show, but she's also based off of other Black women TV producers that we don't know about who were working at the same time. At WGBH in and of itself, they had a Black run show called Say Brother that was in the late 60s, early 70s. And so I tried to base Alice off of those women like Madeline Anderson as well, and take from their experiences and what it would have been like to be one of the only Black people, period, in that type of work environment. And how do you still advocate for the projects that matter to you and mean something to you? And so it was really exciting to get to have a journey with the character in that way.
Absolutely. And so much fun for us to watch as well. And the behind the scenes stuff is just so fascinating. All right, Fran, you got kind of a tough character there, but I sense that we're going to love you in the end. I really do.
Yeah, look, I'm happy. You call me a jerk. You know what I mean? But it's a great opportunity, and because there is, look, it's no real secret. You just kind of look these two people up, and you know that they work together for a very long time, and they have an incredible collaborative career and friendship, right? So it's finding that, honestly, and starting from a place that was real as well. Like Russ did not see it. And I look, for me as an actor, I like to sort of focus or try and make the distinction that it's not that he dislikes this woman or he simply dislikes the idea. It's that he doesn't think it's right for public television, that he has these he's an idealist, or he has these real strong sort of principles about what they should be doing at WGBH and the opportunity they have and the obligation they have to their audience to really educate. And he sort of sees food as fuel. This is the sort of ham sandwich guy, or, turkey, or what is it, tuna casserole, French food. It's sort of frivolous to him. And finding along the way where they can intersect and where they are actually aligned as artists and entertainers and innovators, finding those pieces along the way and having this friendship blossom or this working relationship sort of form, that's really exciting, and that it's not simply sort of an antagonist. It's almost more complicated than that, that these two have so much potential together. And finding how they see that is I think a really kind of cool journey to be a part of,
Yes. And I wasn't insulting you. I love your character. And they're telling me to wrap it really quickly. I will say I'm seeing where that evolution is happening. And the fact that you can switch like that, I thought was really impressive. So I do love Russ. Let's be friends. We're not fighting. Okay. David, specifically your character, Paul, there is an element of Lucy and Ricky between, and I don't know if it's intentional, but Paul and Julia's relationship, this innocent, sincere, sweet, humorous love affair. And it is my absolute favorite part of the show.
Well, you have such good taste. I'm unfortunately I'm a little behind on the Lucy and Ricky's stuff. So it's funny. It's the flip side of Julia. I only know them from the Lucy show. So I love Lucy.
Yeah.
So I have yet to see the great behind the scenes stuff that's been made.
No. I mean the show, not the behind the scenes, which we found out there was some turmoil. I just mean the classic TV show of that sweet love affair. I really felt that way with you too.
That's interesting. No one's ever said that, and I think that's really. If it was Cuban cooking instead of French, I guess that's what it would be.
Exactly. And Bebe, you play such a great force, such a support, and what was that like to be Julia's ride or die, her sidekick? Was that fun? And what was it like to see Sarah become Julia?
Well, that was fantastic. It was amazing. I remember being on set one day. We were on the set of The French Chef, and I was looking in one of the monitors, and I was looking at Sarah playing Julia Child in a monitor, and it was blowing my mind. And I walked over to her. I said, "I'm just looking at you on the monitor." And she said, "If you tell me that I look like Julia Child, I'm going to kill you." So, all right, okay. I'm not saying anything.
I do feel like Julia was such a force in pop culture for me growing up. Do you remember, and I'd love to have both of your answers, David, Bebe, do you remember your first memory of Julia Child?
Probably on the television. David and I were both children in the 60s. Well, you were, okay. So
Yeah.
Love it when you tell somebody else their age. I was a child in the 60s. So she was just a character on the television, part of the cultural fabric of the world. We were not, we weren't a really heavy into cooking family, so we weren't glued to the TV to watch that or try recipes. She was just this very, very entertaining character. That's just, everybody knew who Julia Child was.
I love that.
By the way, when I say that Sarah said, "I'll kill you," it's not because of anything other than she didn't want to have a compliment in her ear. She didn't want to hear that she was really great, because she was very shy. She was being shy about that. It was not a slam to Julia Child or what Julia Child looked like. It just occurred to me, you might think that. It really...
Oh, no, not at all. But that she would definitely hate talking to me, because I absolutely love the show. I cannot wait for the next season. I'm going to put it in writing that it's coming. And I really enjoy it. You guys are so talented and a joy to watch. And I just was so tickled that I had the opportunity to talk to you both today. So thank you for your time and congratulations on the show.